In this class, let us discuss Zeeman effect. Zeeman effect in hydrogen atom. Okay, so what is Zeeman effect? Um, this was discovered by Peter Zeeman in 1896. So the idea is that in the presence of a strong magnetic field, um, a spectral line is found to be split up into three or more components. If the splitting is into three components, um, it's called normal Zeeman effect. More than three components, it's called anomalous Zeeman effect. Okay, so in the presence of a strong magnetic field, a spectral line splits up into three or more components. This is called Zeeman effect, and if the splitting is into three, it's called normal Zeeman effect. Normal Zeeman effect. And if the splitting is into more components, it's called anomalous Zeeman effect. Okay. Now, in this class, we will discuss normal Zeeman effect in the context of hydrogen atom. So, what can be the reason for Zeeman effect? If a spectral line splits up into more components, more than one component. Earlier, there is one component. Okay, so it's like this. When magnetic field is zero, you have a spectral line, a single spectral line. Okay, now with a magnetic field, this single spectral line splits up into, let us say, three and sometimes more components. So we know that a single spectral line is produced um, when there is a transition of energy, transition of electron from, according to Bohr model. If we have a look at Bohr model, you have a higher energy state, you have a lower energy state. Okay, Bohr's third postulate says that when an electron undergoes a de-excitation from higher energy state to lower energy state, a photon is emitted with energy equal to the difference in energy of the two states. Okay, so the frequency is E2 minus E1 by h. So we have a spectral line. Now, if a spectral line in the presence of a magnetic field, if the spectral line splits up into more components, okay, into three components, it only means that this energy levels must be increased in the presence of a magnetic field. There must be more energy levels. Each spectral line is produced by transition between two energy levels. So if there are more spectral lines in the presence of magnetic field, it means that somehow there must be more energy levels involved during the transitions. So how do we get new energy levels in the presence of the magnetic field? So let us recall that electron, when it revolves around the nucleus, it has some orbital magnetic dipole moment. So in the presence of the magnetic field, this magnetic dipole moment interacts with the magnetic field, and then because of this interaction, the atom gains some additional potential energy, magnetic potential energy. So this additional potential energy must be the reason for this additional energy levels, and these additional energy levels must be causing this additional spectral lines. This is the idea, or the explanation for Zeeman effect. But let us try to do some calculations based on, let us try to calculate the difference between the spectral lines, okay, in a particular magnetic field. So let us briefly recall the expressions for the magnetic dipole moment of the electron, orbital magnetic dipole moment of the electron. So during the orbital motion of the electron, the electron completes a circular loop, a current loop. So the magnetic dipole moment of this current loop is current into area. So let us, according to Bohr model, let us argue that in the picture of Bohr model, even though this picture is not correct for quantum model, but let us consider this approximate model. So an electron is revolving around the nucleus in a circular path of radius r. So this magnetic dipole moment is current charge of the electron by time period, which is the current, and area is pi r square. Angular momentum of the electron, orbital angular momentum of the electron is MER, mass into mass of the electron into velocity is distance by time. So in one revolution the distance traveled is 2 pi r, time taken is time period into r. So if we take the ratio of these two, mu by L is equal to minus E by 2, and this is called gyromagnetic ratio. Okay, we have seen these equations during the discussion on space quantization. So mu is equal to minus E by 2m into L, or vector mu is equal to minus E by 2m into vector L. So it's clear that mu and L, angular momentum, orbital angular momentum and orbital magnetic dipole moment, are oppositely directed for the electron. The reason is the negative charge of the electron. If we take the set component of mu set is equal to minus E by 2m into L set. By convention, the set direction is the direction of the applied field. Okay. So say this is the direction of the applied field, set direction. Okay. Suppose this is the direction of the dipole moment mu, making an angle theta with the z direction, and the direction of L will be exactly opposite to, orbital angular momentum vector will be exactly opposite to that of mu, right, making an angle 180 minus theta with the direction of the magnetic field. This is the z direction. Direction of the magnetic field is chosen as the z direction. So the set component of mu is minus E by 2m into L set. Now we know, according to space quantization, Lz is equal to ml h cross. Therefore, that is, Lz is quantized. Therefore, the set component of mu is also quantized, minus E by 2m ml h cross. This term we can rewrite as minus ml into the other terms, if we combine the other terms together, EH cross by 2m. Okay. Now this quantity EH cross by 2m is called Bohr magneton. So Bohr magneton, we use the symbol mu suffix b for that. B for Bohr. The suffix b stands for Bohr. So Bohr magneton is EH cross by 2m. M is the mass of the electron. If we substitute the values, we will get 5.788 into 10 raised to minus 5 electron volt per Tesla. The unit, this unit will be clear within a few minutes. We will look at some new equations involving mu b, then the unit will become clear. So if I rewrite the set component of orbital magnetic dipole moment in terms of mu b, it is simply ml into mu b. So we can see that the set component of electrons dipole moment, orbital dipole moment, is quantized. So we have this equation. Okay. Set component is equal to minus ml mu b. Now when this electron or when this atom, hydrogen atom, is subjected to an external magnetic field, what happens? When an external magnetic field is applied on this atom, then in addition to the electronic energy levels of the hydrogen atom, this external field will interact with this orbital magnetic dipole moment. So when in classical electrodynamics, when a magnetic dipole is placed in an external magnetic field, it gains some magnetic potential energy given by minus mu dot b. So this is equal to minus mu cos theta into b. Now where theta is the angle between mu and b. Let us look at this figure. Consider this figure. If theta is the angle between mu and b, what is mu cos theta? Mu cos theta is the component of mu along the direction of b, right? So this component. This is mu cos theta, and this mu cos theta is nothing but mu set component. Okay, that's why we were interested in the set component of mu. So this is equal to minus mu set into b. So from the previous equation we know that mu set values are quantized. So minus, instead of mu set I can substitute minus ml mu b into b. So these two minus signs will cancel out. So magnetic potential energy gained by the atom is ml mu b into b. Okay. Now it is clear about the unit of mu, right? ml is just a number. So mu b, the unit of mu b is um divided by b. Um is potential energy, so its unit is joule or electron volt, and this is Tesla magnetic field. So electron volt per Tesla is the unit of mu. Okay, so you can see that the set component of magnetic dipole moment is quantized, and the magnetic potential energy gained by the atom is also quantized, and this quantization of the z component of magnetic dipole moment and the magnetic potential energy, it's decided by the quantum number ml. Okay, that's why this ml is called a magnetic orbital quantum number. So obviously the word orbital comes before, because the ml quantizes the set component of orbital angular momentum. Look at this equation. ml quantizes the set component of orbital angular momentum. The word magnetic comes because ml also quantizes the set component of magnetic dipole moment. Okay, and hence it quantizes the magnetic potential energy gained by the atom in the presence of a magnetic field. So, each ml state, we can say, each ml state or each LZ state has a different magnetic potential energy now. In other words, the electronic states of the atom now has gained some additional energy values, some additional energy levels specified by this magnetic potential energy. Okay, so there will be some extra energy levels. So when there is a transition from a higher energy state to lower energy state, there are different possibilities. In one atom, a transition may take place from one set of new energy levels to the ground state. In another atom, from another one of the new energy levels to the ground state. So there are different possibilities. So depending upon these different possibilities, we get new spectral lines. Okay. Let us consider this diagram. It shows the transition between two energy states. Um, this corresponds to L equal to 2 states, and this corresponds to L equal to 1 state. The principal quantum number of these two states can be anything. Anything means we know that for L equal to L being 2, the principal quantum number of the upper state must be either n equal to, yeah, it must be n equal to 3 or higher, right? Must be n equal to 3 or higher, because L values vary from 0 to n minus 1, right? So the higher energy state must have a principal quantum number n equal to 3 or higher, and the lower energy state must be having a principal quantum number n equal to 2 or higher, right? Okay, so this is, let's say, the higher energy state. Let's don't worry about the principal quantum number. It can have different values. Here the upper energy state has a orbital quantum number L equal to 2, and lower energy state has an orbital quantum number L equal to 1. So this left hand side of this figure shows the situation um, without the magnetic field, without in um, B is equal to 0. Here we can say no. Okay, no field here. So in the absence of a magnetic field, what happens? There is only one energy level here in the higher energy state. There is only one level, let us say E2 level, and this is E1 level. So there is a transition, and there is a single line corresponding to this transition. Okay, E2 minus E1 by H. So you have corresponding to this transition, you have a single line, nu 0. Frequency is nu 0. That's equal to E2 minus E1 by H. Now this part, this right hand side of the figure, so with field, with some applied field, applied magnetic field. So what happens here, in the absence of the magnetic field, every corresponding to L equal to 2, you have 5 different ML values, right? ML equal to minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2. All these ML values have the same energy in the absence of the field. But in the presence of the field, look at the earlier expression that we have obtained. Some additional magnetic potential energy is gained by the atom, and this potential energy depends upon ML value. It depends upon the value of the magnetic field. This mu b, Bohr-Manton, is a constant, but it depends upon the ML value. That means these 5 different ML values have got, look at this figure, the 5 different ML values, ML equal to minus 2, minus 1, 0, plus 1, plus 2. All these 5 different states have got different energy values. Okay, ML equal to minus 2, you have minus 2 mu b, minus 2 mu b into b. Right, ML equal to minus 1, minus 1 mu b into b. ML equal to 0, there is no potential energy for ML equal to 0. Okay, so for ML equal to 1, there is a higher potential energy plus mu b into b, and then ML equal to 2 plus 2 mu b into b. So depending upon the value of the ML, there can be lower energy and higher energy compared to the earlier energy in the absence of the magnetic field. So the higher energy state with L equal to 2, okay, it splits up into 5 different energy levels. Look at here, 5 different energy levels. What about the lower energy state? Here L equal to 1, ML has values minus 1, 0, and plus 1. It splits up into 3 different energy levels corresponding to 3 different values of ML. ML equal to 0, of course, there is no additional magnetic potential energy, but for ML equal to minus 1, there is a lower potential energy, so total energy is lowered. For ML equal to plus 1, there is a positive potential energy, so total energy is increased. So now the electronic transition has to take place from the 5 excited levels, 5 higher energy levels, to 3 lower energy levels. Okay. Now when there is electronic transition between atomic levels, they obey some selection rules. So what are these selection rules for electronic transitions? These selection rules are the change in principal quantum number can be any value. That means the transition can take place from any. So if now we are considering de-excitation and emission spectral line, let us say. So the de-excitation can take place from any higher energy state to any lower energy state corresponding to the principal quantum number. Delta n can have any value. What about delta L? Delta L should be plus or minus 1. The change in L should be either plus 1 or minus 1, either an increased value or a decreased value. Okay, and delta ML should be 0 or plus or minus 1. It should be either 0, change in ML value should be either 0 or plus 1 or minus 1. So now we are looking at okay, so in this case, what is delta n? Delta n can have any value. We are not worried about what the principal quantum number of the higher energy state and what that of the lower energy state. We have already seen that for a higher energy state, n must be 3 or higher. For lower energy state, n must be 2 or higher. But look at the delta L value here. For the higher energy state, L is equal to 2. For lower energy state, L equal to 1. So it's from a higher L equal to 2 state to L equal to 1 state. So final minus, when we take delta L, let us always take final minus initial. So if you are talking about a de-excitation from L equal to 2 state to L equal to 1 state, the change is delta L is minus 1 here. Okay, so here we can say delta L is minus 1 from 2 to 1. And now on the right side, we have seen that the new energy levels due to the additional magnetic potential energy, they depend upon the ML values. Okay, so there are three possibilities. Delta ML must be 0 or plus 1 or minus 1. Now this middle group here, these three transitions represent delta ML equal to 0. You can see this here from ML equal to 1, the transition is to ML equal to 1. From ML equal to 0 to 0, from minus 1 to minus 1. So from minus 2 you cannot have any transition downward because there is no minus 2 level in the lower energy state, and similarly there is no plus 2 level in the lower energy state. So that is why these two levels are not involved in this set. So these three transitions correspond to delta ML equal to 0. Okay, so when delta ML equal to 0, what is the change in or what is the difference in energy involved? Okay, here ML equal to 0 in the higher energy state, it means that the magnetic potential energy gained, additional magnetic potential energy gained is 0. So the higher energy state has an energy E2 plus 0 here. Here from here to here, the transition here also ML equal to 0, so lower energy state is simply E1. Okay, so E2 minus E1, the energy corresponding to this transition is E2 minus E1. What about this one? This is E2 plus this one, ML mu B into B. ML mu B into B, that is ML is plus 1. So this state has an energy E2 plus, shall I write this energy here? This state has an energy E2 plus mu B into B. Okay, this level is having an energy E2 and this level is having an energy E1. So this state has is E2 plus mu B into B. And where is the transition to the transition to the lower energy state? Lower energy state is exactly ML equal to 1. So what is the energy corresponding to this state? The new energy corresponding to this state is again E1 plus mu B into B. So if you take the energy difference, this mu b into b part will cancel. So the energy difference is again E2 minus E1. Similarly, if we consider this ml equal to minus 1 state here the energy is E2 minus ml mu b into b. Ml is minus 1, so E2 minus mu b into b, and here also it is E1 minus mu b into b. So if we take the difference, minus mu b will cancel. So for these three states, the energy difference delta E is equal to simply E2 minus E1. Okay, so what is the frequency? Frequency is same as mu 0, which is delta E divided by H. Okay, so these three states correspond to a frequency simply nu 0, which is the same as the frequency in the absence of the magnetic field. Okay, this nu 0 is simply E2 minus E1 by H. Okay, now let us consider this one, this right group, this group. What about this group? For this group, you can see delta ml is equal to plus 1. See the transition here, the three transitions here, from 0 to plus 1, from minus 1 to 0, from minus 2 to minus 1. So it's one higher. When we come to the lower energy state, the number of ml value increases by 1. So delta ml equal to plus 1. So what is the difference in energy corresponding to these three? Delta E is equal to okay, let us consider this one, first one, 0 to 1. So here the energy is E2. Here the energy is E1 plus mu b into b. So if you take final minus initial, we have initial minus final, because higher minus lower, right? So we have E2 minus E1 plus mu b into b. Okay, so this is E2 minus E1 minus mu b into b. So what is the frequency now? E2 minus E1. So we have to divide the energy difference with H, right? Minus mu b into b divided by H. Okay, that is, this is equal to E2 minus E1 by H is nothing but nu 0 minus mu b into b divided by H. That's what. So it's a lower energy. The energy corresponding to delta ml equal to plus 1 stands for lower energy. And consider this group here. Here delta ml is equal to, I think, minus 1. Okay, delta ml equal to minus 1 because the transition are from 2 to 1, from 1 to 0, from 0 to minus 1. So one step, when we come to the final state, ml decreases by 1. Okay, so delta ml is minus 1, right? It decreases by 1. So when delta ml is minus 1, what is the change in energy? Delta E, it's right here, delta E is equal to, consider the state transition, let us say from, okay, it's easy to take this one, from 0 to minus 1. Okay, because here it is E2, here it is E1 minus mu b into b. So it's like this. Higher energy state is E2 minus E1 minus mu b into b. So we have E2 minus E1, minus of minus is plus mu b into b. So what is the frequency now? You divide throughout with H. So E2 minus E1 by H plus mu b into b divided by h. That is nu is equal to nu 0 plus mu b into b divided by h. Okay, so we have got three spectral lines here. One's corresponding to the energy nu 0. Okay, this for delta ml equal to 0. The other corresponding to the energy nu 0 minus mu b into b divided by h. This corresponding to delta ml equal to plus 1 type of transitions. And there is a higher energy nu 0 plus mu b into b divided by h, and this corresponding to the set of transitions for delta ml equal to minus 1. Okay, so now we can see that a single spectral line here now splits up into three different lines. Why three different lines? Because there are three sets of transitions for delta ml equal to 0, delta ml equal to plus 1 and delta ml equal to minus 1. This is called normal Zeeman effect. And let's write the expression for the change in frequency once again. So what is the change in frequency delta nu? It's the magnitude. If you take only the magnitude, it is mu b into b divided by h. Okay, it can be plus or minus mu b into b by h. So if you take the magnitude, it is this. But what is mu b? Let us look at it closely. What is mu b? Eh cross by 2m, right? Eh cross by 2m, right? Here we have written it here, Eh cross by 2m. Okay, so Eh cross by 2m into b divided by h. So this h will cancel. So we have Eb divided by h cross is h by 2 pi. H will cancel. So Eb divided by 4 pi m. This is the magnitude of the change in frequency. We can also calculate the corresponding change in wavelength. For that we proceed like this. Nu is equal to c by lambda. So delta nu is equal to minus c by lambda square delta lambda if we take differentials on both sides. And taking only the magnitude of delta nu is equal to c by lambda square magnitude of delta lambda. Okay. Therefore, delta lambda is equal to magnitude of delta lambda is equal to lambda square by c times magnitude of delta nu. That is magnitude of delta lambda equals lambda square by c times Eb divided by 4 pi m. Usually the splitting of spectral lines in the presence of the magnetic field, that is Zeeman splitting of spectral lines, the width, the amount of splitting is expressed usually in terms of wavelength, so much angstrom. Okay, so this expression we use for that, lambda square by c into Eb by 4 pi m. 4 pi m. Okay, this is not 4 pi b but 4 pi m. So here m is the mass of the electron, b is the applied field, and lambda is the particular the wavelength of the particular spectral line. Okay. There is a problem in the textbook Beiser. A sample of certain element is placed in a 0.3 Tesla magnetic field. Okay, so the magnetic field is 0.3 Tesla. I'm referring to example 6.4, chapter 6, example 4. So a sample of certain element is placed in a 0.3 Tesla magnetic field and suitably excited. How far apart are the Zeeman components of 450 nanometer spectral line of this element? Okay, so the spectral line is 450 nanometer, nearly green line. So 450 nanometer spectral line of this element, in the presence of this zero point 0.3 Tesla magnetic field, it will split up. Okay, how far apart are the Seemann components? That means we want to calculate this delta lambda. Okay, so all the values are here. Lambda is 450 nanometer, magnetic field is given, all the other values are known. So the answer is 2.83 into 10 raised to minus 12 meter. Okay, that means in terms of nanometer, because the lambda is given in nanometer. In terms of nanometer, this is 0.00283 nanometer. Okay, or 2.83 into 10 raised to minus 3 nanometer. So it's a very small, a very small value, a small splitting. If we increase the magnetic field, the amount of splitting will be higher. Okay, so this is the idea of normal Seemann effect, right? And in anomalous Seemann effect, the splitting is into more than 3 components. There will be more than 4 or 6 or higher number of components. That means that in anomalous Seemann effect, the splitting will be more. Splitting of energy levels will be more. Not only this, but more. Okay, so what can be the reason for that? Okay, that was a question um, uh, which was puzzling many physicists at the turn of the 20th century, during 1920s. Around just after, around for 25 years, I think around 1896, this Seemann effect was discovered. Both normal and anomalous Seemann effect were discovered at that time. So for around 25 years after that, people were worried about this, how to explain this anomalous Seemann effect. Okay, we will consider the explanation in the next class.